male member of the Cal Poly College Republicans. And he says, although it's not exclusively white or male, there's some implication. You know, a white male, blonde-haired and blue-eyed, that I was a flashpoint for these students' anger. That was the exact word. Just me being white, blonde-haired, and blue-eyed, that I was somehow prone to offend people that didn't look like me. We're all students of the same age. We all go to the same school. You know, there's more the same about us than was different. So I've never thought, okay, this person doesn't look like me, they're automatically going to hate me, or they're going to not like me, or I'm going to somehow just offend them by being in their presence. At one point, he suggested to my parents, he looked at my dad and suggested that I was maybe raised in a manner to not treat other people respectfully. They wanted me to see a university psychologist to discuss emotional barriers. I have some emotional disorder because I'm conservative. Something's got to be wrong with me. You need to write letters of apology to these students and make an appointment with a psychologist. They handed me a sheet which listed everything from verbal reprimand all the way to permanent expulsion from the CSU system. And they says, your punishment could get worse. And they slid this to me, and that was all they said. And I told them, I said, I'm not going to write these letters, and I'm not going to make that appointment.
I found out about what happened to Steve Hinkle right before I came to the campus. And I called Steve up, and he verified that he came in, tried to put the flyer up. I said, what flyer? My flyer? The flyer that has the title of my book on it? Yeah, I said, how can that offend anybody? And who cares if you offend it? Why is that against the law now to offend someone?
It's clear the university wants to charge him with something, and they struggle for a while trying to figure out what.
I entered at like 6:45, maybe I was there for 2-3 minutes tops, and left. And they said that they were so, I guess, just distraught, they couldn't have their meeting at 7.
They called the police. And when the police showed up, they complained that the police showing up was a disruption.
In the hearing, I sat right there while they said that when the police came, that further disrupted their meeting.
Nobody could come in and say he was rude.
It wasn't about my conduct. I was very civil. I asked them if they wanted to sit down and talk about it. I said, please. I said, thank you.
This was not fair. This was not set up with intention to be fair.
Well, we had quite a bit of testimony. We had a 7-hour hearing.
There were many amazing moments, not the least of which was when Steve Hinkle asked Ardith Tregenza what disruption actually meant.
I'm being charged with a disruption of a campus event. She says, I don't see how that applies to this case. And she just laughed it off and says,
gosh, I feel like I'm on Jeopardy.
And she says, I don't know, I'm not a dictionary.
You don't need to be a lawyer to understand that if you can't even define what somebody is charged with, you have a little bit of a problem.
They found me guilty, obviously.
We feel like the whole process was a large part of the punishment. You know, like a 7-hour hearing for trying to post a flyer is not acceptable.
They dropped the charge of seeing the psychologist.
But of course, it was still in his transcript. He was found guilty of something absolutely absurd. They wanted him to write an apology.
I told him his back was against the wall, that if he had to write a public letter of apology, that would haunt him with the internet for a lot of years.
Here's Steve Hinkle, who has a problem with black people, and he had to have the police called on him because he was putting up racist material. I didn't want that on my record. I'm not going to start out my career as a young adult having that skeleton in my closet.
He was prepared to let Cal Poly, kick him out.
Cal Poly was savaged in the press.
It was on Fox News, it was on CNN. After a lot of media attention, the university sent me a letter, and they said that they're not going to pursue the charges anymore because their objectives had been met. So here I'd been harassed for 2 months, and they're telling me their objectives had been met. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't comply with any of your punishment, but yet your objectives have been met? What are your objectives? Was it to harass college Republicans or young conservatives? What's going on? But they didn't say they were dropping the case. So I still had this guilty charge on my record.
We told them almost a year before, like, you don't stand a chance in this case. This is not a close call.
They didn't listen to us for almost a year. They listened to the judge and said, okay, we're going to settle.
They lost on every single possible grounds.
My record had to be expunged. My legal fees had to be paid.
$40,000 out of the taxpayer's pocket.
They could not have ever believed they had a case. They were just trying one thing after another, hoping that before they go to court, he would quit.
This is a perfect example of how hypocritical it is to want diversity, but not diversity of ideas.
Were they opposed to Steve's being a white conservative, or were they opposed to Mason Weaver being a black conservative?
All of the above.
It wasn't a problem with the flyer. It wouldn't matter what it was. They used the plantation because, to them, it's their plantation. He was going to the front door, bringing in a black speaker on campus, a conservative speaker, and that was against Master's rules. They were attacking Steve Hinkle.
If the administrators at Cal Poly wanted to kick Steve out of school simply for hanging a flyer, I wonder what they would do to me for asking questions about it.
Hello,
I'm looking for some university official to comment on the Stephen Hinkle case.
That would be public affairs you need to go to.
Here's the statement.
Could you read it for us?
Oh, I gotta give it to you.
You can't read the statement?
No, but that's the statement that we're giving everybody.
There's no apology here for Mr. Hinkle.
That's the statement, and you're welcome to film anywhere on campus. So, good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cal Poly never did apologize to Steve Hinkle, and they still refuse to admit they did anything wrong. Maybe Cal Poly's president would have the courage to explain the school's actions. Hi, how are you?
Good.
I was wondering if we might be able to speak with the university president.
Hi. Would you please put that down? Put it down now.
Um,
Okay, come on.
So I take it we can't speak with the university president?
Who are you?
My name's Evan Maloney. Nice to meet you.
From which organization?
I am an independent filmmaker.
Well, good for you. You don't have an appointment here, as I understand it.
Well, we've tried to get in touch with a number of administrators, and to date we haven't been able to get anyone to even respond to our emails or phone calls. So I figured we'd stop by.
Come on down here, please.
Is there any way we could speak with the president of the university?
No, come here. You don't have an appointment, and I'd like you to please...
It would just take a couple
please
seconds.
come out of the office.
Well, I have a question. Does the university have a reaction to... do you have anything to say to the taxpayers of California for the $40,000 that was spent in the Hinkle case?
Please come with me.
Can I ask the question?
Please come with me. You don't have an appointment. I don't know exactly what organization.
Well, I've been
you
trying to get
represent.
in touch with the university
And,
for a while.
I'd be delighted to consider a request for an appointment, but the president is not available to speak with you now.
Well, he was just in there, it looks like, just kind of sitting
The
around.
president is not available to speak with you at this time.
Is there anyone-
You don't have an appointment.
I contacted the university a number of times. I contacted administrators.
Without an appointment.
Well, how can I get an appointment if no one will return my requests?
You're welcome to call me at my phone number, at our office phone number here, at a later point in time.
Instead of calling you, can I
And
just talk
request
with you
an
now?
appointment. No, I'm busy. I don't have time to deal with your request at this time. Michelle, would you please call the public safety office? You do not have an appointment to see.
But I couldn't get an
You don't have an
appointment.
appointment to see the president.
No
and-
one would respond to my requests.
Well, I understand your frustration, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with an appropriate university official. Certainly welcome to go and speak to our Director of Public Affairs, Leah Colt. I'll be glad to respond to your questions.
Okay, so I have your word that they'll speak with me today?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Well,
I
I'm
appreciate
sorry
it.
this has not been a civil visit, and I appreciate
I think it's
your
been
interest,
civil.
And you're welcome to go.
Why do you think it hasn't been civil?
Because you came up here and demanded an audience with the president
Well,
of the university.
I was wondering if we might be able to speak with the university president? If no one will return my emails, if no one will respond to my phone calls, what other recourse do I have than to show up?
I've directed you to the public affairs office.
Well, you say this isn't civil. I think this is remarkably civil. I'm not...
Well, then I'll shake your hand. If you believe it's civil, then let's part company on civil terms. And you're welcome to go to the public affairs office.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
That guy was pretty funny. Of course, I forgot he told his assistant to call the police, and they soon surprised our cameraman from behind.
You need to leave or you're going to go to jail, okay?
All right.
So you need to grab your stuff. Let's go. Get in your
Okay.
cars. You need to roll. I can't comment on anything. I'm non-biased in this case, brother, but we got to do what we got to do. Here's what's going to happen. You guys need to go off campus and stay off campus, because if you come back, you're going to subject yourself to being arrested. Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir.
It was good meeting you guys, but I hope I don't see you again.
Likewise.
You know what I'm saying?
Nothing personal.
All right.
Take care. You'd be surprised what can get you in trouble on a college campus. Just ask these students at the University of Tennessee.
Basically, there were these five members of fraternity that were going to a party, and they dressed up like the Jackson 5.
5 members from Jackson, Tennessee, and they decided to dress up as the Jackson 5 because that's how they were known.
As part of their costumes, they were in blackface.
Right.
Everybody was dressed up in Halloween costumes.
It happened over a weekend, and then on the following Monday, they were reprimanded.
And the university ended up suspending the entire